The following is a transcript of a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. 26th January 2021. Culture. Me. Yesterday I had a doubt. Many times we have spoken of the spirit as something so big that it cannot inhabit a body, and therefore it expands like Wi-Fi through the universe, and bodies downloaded as mobile applications. However, it is not what you described yesterday, where the spirit is the basis of all things within, and that it is the seed expressed in the body. So how do you understand it? I am. Mirka ben ha. Me. How? I am. Your languages have become so concerned with describing the details of the world that they have lost the ability to express the essential. It is almost impossible to explain in your languages such a large and interdimensional concept. The expression mir ka ben ha comes from the phrase mir ka ba enon ha, which describes the attribute of man, being the own home where consciousness and energy develop. Mir describes the individual mind of a human, man or woman, the self-referenced, and his consciousness of being, which exists only by its manifestation interconnected in pulsating networks, the spiritual connection, called ka, and all this inhabiting in oneself in the energy of the body, in the material essence called ba, the home of the being. Enon is a construction that does not exist in current languages and that describes a place, location, which becomes a subject of performing an action. In this case, that apparent being from the interior, that in its observation is mobilized to develop from the inner perception, but daring to go further and evolving in life, which is called ha. The phrase translates into a single concept, mirka ben ha, which tries to narrate that everything that lives outside is inside, that what expands is so great that it can only be found inside because nothing that really exists is, and therefore what is inside is constantly moving outside. Your language is constructed by dual polarized concepts, and it is impossible for them to describe the concept ba, that is, home that lives within. Bar describes the physical, concrete, material house, and Bahab, the heavenly home, the subtle, which gives rise to the word transcendence, Bahub, same word for death, that is, something that goes beyond and yet remains here because it returns home. The word describes the way something can be in and out at once. It can enter the body and still in doing so see that it is coming out of it. They are words that naturalize what you call paradoxes because they describe reality from a different dimension to which you have built your reality. All fabrics, creation, your technology was designed to adapt to a specific environment, and you understand then all things from that point of view. Me. I understand. That is, the spirit is so broad that it cannot belong to a body, but in turn, it is the spirit or a part of it that manifests itself in matter. I am. That's right. Me. It's complex to visualize. I am. It's a tesseract, the spider weaver of realities. It is your own inner spirit generating around it the chrysalis structure of a body, and in turn expanding out of it eternally to be discharged back into it. It's the most perfect feedback technology. Me. Speaking of feedback, another question arose. Technology is the art that our spirit has manifested through the body. What is it that our body gives or manifests to spirit? I am. Culture. Me. Okay. How? I am. Culture, as you know it today, is a concept used mostly from the 20th century to describe the set of knowledge, traditions, characteristics, attributes, artistic capacities of a specific or general human group. culture describes the agglomerate of information that nourishes individuals. A culture alone can be considered the construction of diverse individuals who develop ways of interrelating, or you can also know the concept of culture as the intellectual baggage acquired from an individual by study or experience. But culture wasn't always considered that way. The word culture is no more than 600 years old and describes the action or active quality, ura, of inhabiting or changing the habitat. Its etymological root comes from the Indo-European quel, which means to change, move, inhabit a new place, a word that gave rise to the Greek kyklos, that is, cycles, which refers to repetitive circles of time, such as the seasons of the year. Reason why, in Latin, cycle came to be called circle, giving the verb colo, that is, collect, gather, and that originates colere, which is to collect the fruit of what is sown in the cycles of the seasons, whose participle is cultus, translated as collected. For this reason, in the Middle Ages, it was called cultivation to what was collected in the harvest, and cultivar became the verb to carry out the whole process of sowing, care, and harvesting. Thus, from Indo-European, quel, turning, moving, changing places, we arrive at the concept of the seasons as a circle of time through which the sowing and collection of fruits and grains is carried out. Me. What does cultivation have to do with the worship of a god? I am. The whole relationship. First of all, remember that humans do everything they do for food. They need to feed, and the gods are a kind of security to get food. Thus, in the same way that agricultural tasks were carried out, the gods had to be asked for help for good sowing, rain, pest care, good harvest, etc. Therefore, honoring the gods and giving offerings to them was synchronized with the cyclical rhythms of the field. And because it was a cycle, the concept was also called cult, participle of something that is repeated in a change or move. The term of inhabiting or moving was related to the astrological houses or mansions of the gods in the sky, which was changing, according to the season or month of the year. Therefore, for its move and repetitive repetition of the rituals to the gods year after year, it is known as a cult to follow a specific divinity. Me. I understand. And someone considered cultured, who is he? I am. Here we can understand it from two possible visions. The first describes the fact that this person does not stay with a single posture or vision of things, but dares to change his way of seeing, look at different perspectives, expand his vision of things, and therefore circulates repeatedly through different areas of knowledge, nourishing himself from each one. Thus, someone cultured is a person with different knowledge that he has acquired in his movement for life. But on the other hand, we come to the concept we are looking for. An educated person is one who has cultivated himself. Imagine that your body and your mind in it are like a ground with many minerals and potentials, but they do not awaken if I do not add to it the necessary elements, water and seeds. If your body is a garden or soil rich in minerals with the potential to create fruits to share as gifts with the world, you should know that in order to create them, you need to till the land. Plowing the land is creating the furrows that make the land more flexible. Flat ground is more likely to dry out and create a rigid layer where water and seeds simply slide and do not nourish the soil. Therefore, the furrows create curves, wrinkles in the ground, which allow the water to move and remain. Permeabilize, allow other nutrients to cling to the corners of the furrows and be absorbed by the soil. Also, they make a house, shelter for the seeds that fly or that you deposit in the ground. A plain and simple mind is an empty and infertile mind. A mind with many curves and labyrinths is a rich and fertile mind. Naturally, your brain has been ordered with grooves, with folds to secure information. A wrinkled terrain has a greater chance of creating life, and a smooth one of becoming a desert. Therefore, for there to be good cultivation, collection, harvest, you need to learn to be flexible, to bend your ground, to have other points of view, to open your heart, mind, and body. And then you need to water the land. With what? Me. With water? I am. That your being calls emotions. You have to learn to water just the right amount, so that you do not drown the ground, or it does not dry out. Water brings life, and heals the wounds of the ground by molding the furrows, softening the ground. And so the seeds are planted, the spiritual potential that comes from the tree of life and knowledge. Now, a monoculture can give you only one reason, thought, idea. Therefore, variety is necessary, because a single fruit is not nutritious. To have a healthy diet, variety is necessary. Consume different shapes, different colors, and cook them in different ways. Thus, your body is watered by the soul and sown by the spirit. And the potential of the body, of the soil, its minerals, its phosphorus, iron, calcium, silicon, nitrogen, are what will make the spiritual seed grow, nourished by the emotional water of the soul. Me. How beautiful to see it like this. I am. It is beautiful. This is how human gifts arise, the skills of the individual. Art, which, in the interaction of different terrains and plants, design more gifts, creating art. And that art is what the spirit collects, is the product of its own seed. Seeds do not germinate without the water of the soul, and no matter how much they germinate, they will not become strong without the minerals of the body. The roots, the branches, the fruits grow thanks to the nutrients of the soil. And without them there would be no final product. There would be no spiritual fruit. That is why the spirit needs to manifest itself, be born, live, experience. Because even though the seed contains all the potential in its center, its interior, without what the soul and body have to give it, it could never express what it really is. It's their harvest. It's their crop. And the more they interact, the more crops there will be. And that's how each seed creates its culture. Me. Human cultures are the spiritual fruits of individuals. I am. The greater the number of cultures, the greater the capacity of the being to reap the fruits of the spirit. Me. So the more cultures we know, the more we open up to other races, countries, traditions, the more we will be nurturing our spirit to discover our own potential. The way to discover who I am is by opening myself up to nourish myself from others, from every culture, from every religion, philosophy, science, vision, tradition, culture, ancient or modern, nourishing me with the human art that we have created together. I am. Life is a museum in constant transformation. Life is a museum. The word museum may remind you today of a frivolous sight of old and dead, accumulated and catalogued objects that describe the history of artists or activists and their achievements. However, for the ancients, it was quite the opposite. Museum comes from the Greek museion, which means home of the muses. Muses were the Greek divinities who described the attributes of the arts. Calliope, epic, Clio, history, erato, lyric, euterpe, music, melpomene, tragedy, polymnia, pantomime, Thalia, comedy, terpsichore, dance, and urania, astronomy. In this space, the souls and minds of the people were cultivated. The spirit was harvested, living, fully present in the body. Me. So I must turn my body into a museum where all the cultures of the world have a space, where I can nourish myself with all of them so that my own fruits grow. Culture ceases to be, then, a heavy tradition for me. It ceases to be a human construct that clings to attachments of groups and herds, to become the key that nourishes the spiritual seed so that my being bears fruit to the world. I am. Honor the culture, Cultivate your being. Open yourself to all the cultures of the world, and you will find the fruit of your spirit. Me. I am the spiritual culture. I am the soil of rich nutrients, potentials that awaken with the watering of my soul, and that manifest themselves in the seed of my spirit. I am. And cycle after cycle, you'll expand more and more.